pussy just to tell me straight up. Ain't no sense in waiting later. I need it straight up. I ain't tripping on them haters. I got my mind made up.
If you got something to say, don't let your words go to waste. Get it all out today. 5 o'clock, it's time to rock. DJ Machiavelli and my girl Brooke on top. Let's go.
Yes.
I feel like we got to make a TikTok to that one.
That's
I
definitely
love the
like
theme song. I love the theme song, man. I love the
my
theme
boy
song.
Greg gonna be doing boom cat. So, this is a podcast where if you have something to say, then just say that.
Say that. Just say
It's
that.
been a while, Greg. We have a lovely guest today.
I know.
Yes,
I'm about to say,
Lauren.
first of all, welcome back. Thanks to all our viewers, all the people tuning in, man. I know it's been a while. We had to kind of had a busy month, kind of had some stuff to do, but we back on track now.
Yes, we are here and ready to keep it rolling. It's your girl biologist Brooke, and we have Miss lovely Lauren Williams on the pod with us today. Girl, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. How are y'all doing?
We're doing good, girl. We took about a week and a half off, so we're trying to get back in the groove with things and get things together. But yeah, I'm good. Greg, how was your week?
My week was, as always, is great. I'm alive. I am here, so it's always good. It's always great, man. Yeah, just trying to stay busy, throughout the pandemic, stay safe.
Okay.
All-Star weekend coming
Miami?
up, Atlanta, so
Yeah, listen, All-Star weekend is this weekend. I'm not looking
there will
forward
be
to
there will be no official NBA events.
I don't believe that. At all. So Lauren, did you want to tell the people anything about what you got going on or just say hello?
Yes, hello everyone. So I am a high school theater teacher. I've been teaching, this is my 8th year. So I feel like I kind of finally got my groove and everything. I also live in Atlanta. And I am married with a almost 2-year-old next month. So yeah, just taking it day by day and growing up because I still feel like even though we're adults, we're just still bigger kids with responsibility.
Listen, I agree 100%. So how has it been being a teacher like during the pandemic? Are you teaching virtually or how's that working for you?
So we've been back virtual since November, but we're actually like the students got a choice whether they wanted to be virtual or face to face, and we did not. So I'm at school teaching, and I have virtual kids on my computer, and then I have face to face kids, which is very difficult to handle. Because in teaching,
I can imagine.
Yeah, in teaching theater, it's like the face to face kids. I have them, they're locked in, but with the virtual kids, it's hard because everything is,
I couldn't imagine sitting through class for an hour. I could barely sit through a Zoom meeting at work.
Yeah.
I could barely sit through a training. So sitting through class, whew, that's better than me. That's all I
nah, for real.
They are the heroes in this, like truly. I mean, I don't like, give them like take points off for late assignments, like just turn it in. Like everybody's going through it, whatever. However I can help you get through this year so you can graduate, whatever, I'll do it.
That's real. Okay, well, Miss Williams, we appreciate you coming on today. So we're gonna get into a few things, man, because February was a beautiful month. Not only it wasn't my 30th birthday, but it was also Black History Month. Yeah. So did y'all do anything special to kind of celebrate Black History Month? Maybe watch a special any programs, virtual, anything you guys do for Black History Month?
So for me and my students, I just covered different like Black playwrights, and we really focus on August Wilson because he has 10 different plays that he wrote. It's called his Century Cycle. And so he wrote a play for each decade of like what life was like as an African American in the US. So that's what we focused on.
Oh wow, I'm about to look into him. I don't think I've ever heard of him.
So I'm not saying so. I know that I don't think this happened in Georgia, but like in different states, they were like canceling Black History Month in schools. Like,
Yeah, it happened in Jacksonville, Florida. They tried to rebrand it and call it something different, but it's like, no, we already only get 28 days. Why are you trying to rebrand Black History Month? Like that doesn't make any sense to me.
yeah, that's that. And I seen one guy. I think he was. I want to say Minnesota. It's one of those northern Midwest states. It was a Black guy too, saying that Black History Month is racist and no other group gets a month to celebrate it. And I'm just like,
I know.
Big side, big
the old
side.
saying goes, not all skin folk, kin folk. So
we take 10 steps forward and 1 or 2 or 3 or 80 steps back.
yeah.
And then it really hurts when it's like your own people making statements like that. Because when you make statements like that, then other people think that's okay. And it's not okay.
Right. Right.
I was talking about like just history in general of our people with some friends the other day. And we were like, I'm pretty sure slavery was much more like than what we were taught.
Yeah.
Like,
I know. Yeah.
and it's just sad because they give you a very small portion of what really happened, but it's like left to like what other people tell us or kind of to our imagination to figure out like some of the stories that have been passed down, because we get 1 month, we get a few pages in the history book, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, they try to minimize history as much, like slavery history as much as possible. It's like, man, this is going on for hundreds of years. So
Right.
when we see in movies and reading books, it's probably not even close to the things that the horrors that we could imagine. So
Right. And then I feel like the movies and stuff, they try to depict it as best they can. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know if I can do any more Black trauma. Like I can't do no more slave movies. I can't do it. I'm good.
I seen. I think I seen 12 Years a Slave, and
Yeah,
that
that was
probably
my
was the last slave movie. I was like, yeah, I think this is it. Cause
yeah.
what's the?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the only slave movie, I won't say only, the one I've seen in the last probably 5 or 6 years that I was like, I feel like people should watch is the Nat Turner story. I think that one was a really good one.
Yeah.
And I think it really showed like a different side of history that you don't usually read about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm about to say, even me personally, I kind of felt the way about watching the movie we're gonna talk about in a second, the Judas and the Black Messiah, because it was like, for me personally, I know the story of Fred Hampton and I know how it ended. So it's kind of like, I really want to watch a movie about this. So I watched it. It was a great movie. They did a great job with that movie. So
They did.
They did. I mean, Lakeith Stanfield is just, I just love him because I feel like he's himself, but he's always acting, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He makes acting look very easy in all of his films.
He embodies the roles that he takes from all the way to the most recent,
And I share the same sentiments with you, Machiavelli, when it comes to like, I knew the story of Fred Hampton. I knew how it ended. And I was like, ooh, do I want to put myself through this? But I was like, I'm going to do it. So when I watched it, I was actually glad I watched it because it was a really good film. And there were still parts of Fred Hampton's story that I kind of learned through watching that movie. So it made me go back and do more research. So I'm glad that we got that movie, especially during this time. Like it was needed. It was well overdue.
Yes. I'm about saying that, speaking of the movie, I know we're talking about Black history, shout out to, I don't know, is it Daniel Kaluuya?
I'm assuming so. I don't like to mispronounce names.
I was about to say, I don't want to mispronounce it. But no, he just won the Golden Globe for best supporting role, which was kind of like, when I said, I was kind of confused. I was like, what do you mean supporting? But I guess Lakeith was the lead.
Lakeith Stanfield was definitely the main character.
So I mean, they both like, if you can give as many awards as possible, like they both, really everybody in the movie kind of killed the roles. So shout out to him. Shout out to Daniel John Boyega for winning the Golden Globe. Also Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace to him.
Rest in peace.
Such a great man, such a great talent, and gone too soon. And then last but not least, the young lady who played Billie Holiday, what was her name, Lauren?
Andra Day.
Andra Day.
Andra Day, yeah. I still have yet to watch that, but she won an award.
That's on my to-do list.
I'm pretty sure.
Y'all,
I'm pretty
she
sure.
embodied Billie Holiday.
Yeah.
Like the voice, like the rap, it was perfect.
Is that her first film? Because I don't think I've ever seen her in a film before.
I think it is.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's super dope that you do a biopic and then you smash and then get a Golden Globe. She's about to get so many roles, so that's on my list of things to watch, probably for this weekend. But I've heard nothing but good reviews. Like everybody that talks about the movie, they're like, "Yeah, you got to watch it. It's super dope."
Yeah, that's definitely the same response I'm getting from everybody.
And speaking of Black shows and television, Snowfall is back.
Oh, don't tell me anything.
We're not gonna do no spoiler alert.
No, I'm on the first season.
What?
Guys,
girl, you better binge this weekend.
There's so much content. Like it's so hard.
It is hard. You just gotta. I hop around, and then, but with certain shows, I watch it all the way through because once I'm hooked, I'm hooked.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched Snowfall live, so I didn't have to binge Snowfall, but that show was so good. It's something about UK actors that, like, when they do the American accents, I'm like, wow, like you did that.
Yeah.
You really did
that's a lot of talent to be able to transition your role. And they don't just do like typical American, like they do like Snowfall. He does the California accent, and he
sounds like he's from LA. Like he could fool me if I didn't know where he was from.
So they really take that time to study them roles. But yeah, you got to get caught up on Snowfall.
I will.
Episode on Thursday. So
I will.
But it does get better. The further you go in the show, it gets better and better. So however you feel about it now, just know it's gonna get better along the way.
Okay. Yeah.
So stick with it. No matter what you like, if you feel like it's getting slow, just take our word for it and stick with it.
Okay.
You got any other Black shows, Greg, you want to put us on?
I pretty much watch what everybody watch. I watched Lovecraft. Which was an awesome show.
That show was really good.
I love that show. Although I was kind of a little, skeptical about it because of the whole like monsters thing. Once I got to a certain point, I was like, oh, I love this. So
I think people are not used to seeing Black people in like sci-fi type television.
Yeah.
So it kind of shocked people, but I like the fact that it was sci-fi type stuff.
Yeah. And then they was able to like tie in history throughout the entire show. And even if so, when I kind of this is maybe random, but I rewatched the episode where she moved in the house and the kids were playing the Ouija board downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
So the part where Emmett Till was in the show, they said his nickname when they were downstairs playing, but like you wouldn't notice it.
I would not have caught that. I got to go back and watch it.
I think it was Bobo. And I was like, who was Bobo? And I looked it up and it was Emmett Till's name. And I was like, oh, Jordan.
Come on, okay.
I get it.
Writers.
You don't have to put like a big spoiler alert in the comment section on YouTube because folks gonna be upset with us.
Man, that'd be all right. They done had 6 months at this point.
Right. Okay, so it's also Women's History Month, and I'm excited about that. Yes. I'll be celebrating via social media, but I'm all about the women. So I'm a girl's girl. I'm gonna hold it down for us. I know Lauren is also a girl's girl. Greg is a girl's guy. He loves us sometimes.
He does.
I love him.
I can't.
Yeah, right.
But man, let's get into it. We got a topic today that I think is a phenomenal topic. Yeah. I think it's a topic that we need to really talk about, and we might have a part 2. Like, depending on how this combo goes, because it's a lot of things that we can dive into. Mm-hmm. So, breaking generational curses and unlearning things that you may have learned in Black households. This is gonna stir up stuff today. Okay. So first, do y'all believe in generational curses?
I'm about to say, Lauren, you wanna?
I do, but not from the perspective of like spiritually, but more so just like the everyday decisions that people make, and they make the same decisions that their parents made and blah 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 because they think that's the right thing to do.
Yes, I think not only spiritually, but kind of like what Lauren said, and then also like just the way you're like not only decision making, but just like your actions as a person. Like you take on the actions of your parents without you even knowing. So like something you
And
complain about your mom doing or your dad doing, you'll notice if you hang around them long enough that you start doing it. Or there's things that you don't like about yourself that you do that you notice that your parents do. Like maybe I procrastinate too much, maybe I do this, maybe I do that. And then you with your mom and she takes it forever. You like, damn, I do the same thing. Like I
yeah.
do the same as that thing. So yeah, it's in a sense, it's learned behaviors. It's kind of like I don't want to say passed down behaviors, but I mean, yeah, you act like
I
your
mean, in a sense, it is passed down. I think for me, I'm looking at it from a different perspective. So,
mm-hmm.
like, I posed this question on social media, and a lot of people, I got the response of like, not necessarily a curse, but you may make the same decisions. And it's like, okay, we're not talking about like voodoo or anything like that. My perspective is like habits and traditions that have been passed down
Yeah,
that were unknowingly passed down, if that makes sense.
yeah,
So like I'll take an example of the independent woman and the black woman being like this independent figure. I
mm-hmm.
think that's something that has been passed down unintentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
So
like starting from maybe 3 generations ahead of me, and I look at all the women in my family, like they're all alpha women. And it's
Yep.
not like my mom sat me down and was like, yeah, you're gonna be an independent woman. You need to do this, this, and this. It's just like, no,
it just kind of
I watch
happens.
it. I see the way she operated. I see the way my grandma operated, my great granny. So it's just like, wow, that's probably gonna be me on accident.
I was gonna say, Lauren, do you feel like you have any like behaviors or anything like that that you feel like you adopted directly from your parents and like maybe you wanted to like either unlearn or like grow at
Yes.
or like
Yes. My mom is like a worker bee, like she's just I mean, always working
yeah.
and, always going to the next step and like, went from like teacher to assistant principal to like chief of staff of the whole count, you know what I mean? And she like
Yeah, yeah.
works her way up and then retired and then moved to another state and literally got that same chief of staff job in another state. It's like that constant working thing. And so for me, at one point I was like that, like, okay, let me just check the boxes, like, okay,
Mhm.
boom, graduated from college. Okay, got my master's. And it was actually right before COVID, and I was in the middle of getting my specialist. And I was like, who's this for though? Because at
Yeah.
this point where I am right now, like, I don't need this. I'm only getting to see my kid like an hour a day because I'm doing so much schoolwork. Like, am I getting this to check a box to be like, look, mom, I did something else like you did? Or am I doing this because I want to do it? And I had to make the determination like, this is not for me right now, and like leave the program because that's not, where my focus was.
Right.
And I think for me, it's that like that constant like overworking yourself and looking really, really great on paper is like my thing that I'm
Yeah.
trying to like push to the side.
Yeah. I about to say I feel like I definitely have some like behaviors that I take from like my mom and my dad both. Just to be a little more transparent, like personally, like some for me it's kind of like being removed from things like either emotionally or like mentally, like when it comes to like close like family, friends, like things of that nature, like it just being more like to myself. Like I noticed as I grew older, like I was just to myself way more than I should have been. You know what I'm saying? But then I always find myself wanting to be in, not necessarily be in more circles, but like be involved more with certain things. But then I realized it's really my fault that I'm like this. Like, you know what I'm saying? I remove myself, I disappear, I don't talk to people, I do this, I do that, I don't reach out. But then with something, so that was something that I seen in my parents, like in my dad specifically. And I just noticed over time, like I was like, I don't think I want to be a person like this. Like I want to be a more involved, engaged person. and not only family relationships, but just friendships, period. Brooke can tell you, I'd be quick to not talk about something or not like,
And I'd be quick to be like, no, Greg, we're not doing that.
be as removed as possible.
We're not going to shut down. We're not doing that. We let that in 2020.
Yeah. So, and that's definitely something I've had to like. For me, it's just been like a constant like breaking those things is just constant because you start out when you're young. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to break things you do. That's why everybody say, "Oh, I am how I am." We gotta kind of let that go. We can't just be how we are. We gotta grow as people if we want to evolve. We gotta fight it. It's hard. Some stuff, it get deeper than that. Like, it gets in procrastination. Some people attitude, anger, like it breeds from the way you was raised, just the way you seen your parents act, things of that nature. But if you really care enough to grow, I feel like you're gonna put in the work to do it.
I agree. I also disagree in some regard. I agree when it comes to myself because I can speak from my experiences. I think I'm willing to grow. I think the veil is lifting for a lot of us in our generation to where we're like seeing things differently than our parents may have seen them. So one good example of the veil lifting is the stigma around therapy. I think we are way more like open to therapy and to bettering ourselves. Things like self-care, and even if it's just like meditation, those are things that I have noticed our generation is just more open to doing. But then you do have this subculture of Black people that are against it. And it could be because their parents was like, what you need therapy for? Because I feel like the Black family has this thing of like secrecy and like not showing other people our struggle and not showing that like something's wrong and like being tough. I know both of y'all parents have probably said, what are you crying for? And so like that's, I think, another part of like where Black people or our community has probably failed us. And in turn, people are just not open to like being better, if that makes sense. And how do you have a conversation with someone or try to like persuade someone that therapy is a good option, who is just like, nah, I'm straight. I've been good all these years. Like, but no, you're really not good. So I find myself having tough conversations with people about therapy because I'm a therapy advocate.
Yeah, I think therapy, because even I'm a proponent of that too. Like, what I need to go for? I'm good. I don't talk to ladies. But like I think one thing about the stigma of therapy is that with some people that they think like if you need help you got to go seek out a therapist. Like, and it's like sometimes it's just like literally like a lot of people that say it's just a person to talk to about things that go on in your daily routine life. It may not be anything wrong in life at the moment, but you know what I'm saying, it's somebody to like 100% like vulnerably like voice yourself to, and they could provide some sort of like worthwhile response rather than just like, oh man, that's crazy. Like, we all got friends like that. Like, oh damn, that's crazy. You straight? Like other the responses than that. Because my friends, not all of us, they're not therapists, so I don't really, expect that from them. Like, and in some situations, people just don't know how to respond, or, other than you need help.
I think the biggest thing that I had to learn is that like my friends aren't my therapists. And so a lot of times it's quick out, Lauren, like, I don't know how you are with your close homegirls, but it's kind of like that'd be the go-to with something going wrong or you dealing with something in a relationship, some going at work, you call your homegirls, but you gotta understand they have lives too.
Yeah.
And even your homeboys have lives too. So they can't always be like your saving grace. They can't always be the person you go to talk to, because if they're anything like me, I internalize my friends' issues. Like their issues become my issues. And so that's not healthy. So when I realized I was getting to the breaking point of like, I can't keep going to my friends talking about the same stuff, I was like, yeah, it's time for therapy, sis. Probably should go look up a therapist. So I think I'm able to have better relationships with my friends because of therapy, if that makes any sense at all.
That definitely does, because it's not always like the burden of like, let's have a conversation about something that happened. It's like, I already talked about it, so let's just have fun, or let's just
Literally, like it be some stuff some days like I'll be wanting to tell friends and I'll be like, I told my therapist I'm good now. We can have a regular day. Nothing heavy today.
And then it's like
So-
when you kind of when you like that, you notice that like I don't want to say you want to pull away from people, but like when somebody else is like that, like every time you see them, they got something to talk about. You just like,
Here we go again. He about to come with some foolishness. I'm just trying to take a shot. Okay. I'm not trying to have it every day.
who was it, girl? The same dude again? Oh God, what's that?
Right, the same one.
That day,
Listen.
guys too. It's like her again, bro. I thought we talked about this. You know, I'm a big-
So Lauren, you're a mommy, and I know that's very rewarding. And I think one of the things that like I look at when I'm ready to have children is like not passing on things that may have not been the healthiest for me to my children. Do you have any moments like that where you're like, yeah, that's not something I really want to pass to my daughter?
Yes. And this isn't necessarily like from my mom specifically, but just like my family in general, is I don't want her to, I don't ever want to not admit when I'm wrong. So like if I'm wrong, I'm going to say I'm wrong. I'm going to apologize, I'm going to hear her out always. Like, now if she, doing a lot, I might be like, okay, I'm gonna come back in a little bit, you calm down. But like, I want her to be able to express herself because I feel like sometimes when I was a kid, it was very much like, go to your room. I don't want to hear from you for the rest of the night. And then there was never any
Follow up.
yeah, it was just the next day. And it was like, well, you need to go to school and whatever. So I think for me, like conversations and discussions are going to be a huge part of her upbringing and, like just talking about her feelings and how she feels. And, your feelings are valid, let's talk about the way that you can express those in, a respectful way, but you can still always express them. I think that's important. And I don't feel like I had that.
I don't think a lot of us had it. I mean, it's just that I grew up in the, oh, you're being sensitive era, or what are you crying for? You got everything you could ever need and want. Okay, that doesn't mean I don't have feelings.
Right.
Like I'm crying because I'm sad. And sometimes I be crying now and I just be like, you know what? I'm making up for lost time. Because I had a lot of years of no crying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I grew up in the what I say household. So
Man, what I say, I'm
that's not how you're supposed to what I say. I just walk away.
Right.
I don't know.
Or don't make me say it again.
Oh my goodness.
or the
Myself.
it's because I said so. I'm right because I'm the adult.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. I'm right and you're wrong. Okay.
Right. And there's nothing you can do about it. Like you and Matilda.
Matilda, I'm big and you're small.
So my question is: it hard for you as a parent, like to draw the line between like, because I see a lot of conversations now about people like the way people want to approach disciplining their children, and like also giving them the space to like express themselves as a child. Like, is that hard to draw the line between that?
I mean, I can't really say like for sure because she's only 2 right now. But I mean, even like when she has her little tantrums and things now, like I'll let her know like this is not okay. Like, like if she were to like kick me or something, I'm like, no, we don't kick. You can cry, but like there's no kicking, hitting, blah, 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 whatever. And as much as she can understand that too, like she's definitely gotten better. And she's very sweet. Like she'll say she's sorry and then we'll like talk about it. But I feel, I mean, as you've heard, parenting is a learning process. Like no one knows what they're doing. We know what direction we want to go in, but like it just happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I totally I'm not on that level yet of life, but it looks.
I mean, I think it's okay to think about those things now, Greg.
Yeah,
I mean, I think about them often of like, how can I be the best version of myself so that when I do bring children to the world, that I'm really like giving them knowledge, giving them a safe space to feel how they want to feel. And I think it'll be a learning curve. I literally have heard from all my mom friends that like, you think you can read every mommy book, you can read everything in the world. When the baby gets here, it's like all bets are off. Like it's just a learning curve every single day.
because you don't know who you're gonna get. You don't know what your kid is gonna be like
Yeah.
until
I
they're
was
there.
gonna say we could we revisit this conversation and question in about like 6 or 7 years and then see.
Look, and we'll have a recording and be like, remember when you said that? So do you still feel that way?
Yes.
Do you have like any like because we talking about the topic of like generational like curses and like parents' actions to kids. Do you have any traits that you remember yourself being like as a child that you like don't want your daughter to like?
Yes. I used to let people run all over me because I felt like I couldn't speak up.
Mhm.
Like I felt like, if someone says to do something, then like that's it. Like there is no like questioning it or, even kind of like trying to come to a compromise. It's just like this is, what it is. And so I feel like even now, like I'm getting better at it, but even now, sometimes as an adult, I'll have to sit there and talk to my husband about like, okay, how can I approach this with my boss? Like, how can I say this? Where it's like him at work, if he has a problem with his boss, he calls his boss and says, I mean, obviously respectfully, but he addresses the issue and it's like not a problem for him. And for me, that's like an anxiety thing. Like, okay, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? Because that's how I grew up. It was very much like you listen and you just don't say anything. If you have a problem, you come home and talk to me about it and I'll address it type of thing. So I didn't learn how to advocate for myself. So that's something I definitely want to teach her.
Yeah, see, I'm
That
hard.
was good.
I was super hard headed as a kid. I ain't listening to nobody, especially not my
As
mom.
a kid, as an adult.
So
'Cause,
I don't know how to fix that one, but we're gonna hope for the best. I'm gonna call you, Lauren, to get some maybe read a couple books, get a couple tips, and
We've got all the books.
I cannot. So, have you guys ever thought about like not writing an open letter, but like wanting to address things with your parents that maybe in the time where you were feeling that way, you didn't have the words, but now that like you're older and you communicate better, like I've always thought about writing an open letter to like my family of like, these are things that I wish you guys could have changed. There's still time left to change, but like these are feelings that I've had over the years. Have you guys ever thought about doing something like that?
I did. I've had a few conversations with my mom and addressed some things, and they went very well. Um, so I mean, some of them were harder than others, but um, she took what I had to say, and for some of it, she like acknowledged and she, apologized and said she would do better. And I can see it. I could see it with my little brother. He's 5 years younger than me. So like there are things that she did with him that's what I wish she would have done with me. And she did like make those changes. So
That's good.
yeah.
Greg, you got anything?
I definitely I got the chance to be able to do something like that when I was in college. And when we were in BNWI, it was part of like the process, like something we had to do, just like a letter to our dads. Just because, in the Black community, that's something that's real, say a relevant issue with young Black men, like them not either having a father or like it being daddy issues somewhere. And that really that experience helped me open up to things that were issues that I didn't even know were issues. Like as I was writing, I just kept like this and this and this and this and this. And not only did I write it, I mean, most people the thing was we were supposed to burn our letters, but I kept mine. And I called my dad and we just had I was like, hey, it's time to have a real conversation because at this point I'm like 18, 19, I kind of know more, understand more, and it's like we don't have necessarily the best relationship, but in order for it to grow, like you're still in my life, and I'm not just gonna continue to ignore these things as if I don't know what's going on. So we had a conversation. So things have progressed, slowly since then. It's a little difficult with parents, because sometimes with older individuals, it's kind of like they set in their ways.
They are what they are. You can't change 60 years of stuff.
Operating for so long, it's hard to get them to, especially like a parent, like, it's hard to get them to be like, adjust or change or whatever. So, but for me personally, it was good for like my just personal healing. And like we were saying, like breaking generational curses and then like even addressing or touching things that I didn't even know was a problem until I said it.
Mm-hmm.
I was able
And
to,
that's what I was gonna say. Like, even if they don't end up changing it, the fact that you said it
yeah,
to them is like,
yeah.
you know.
See, I'm very different than you guys. I've always thought about it. I've never actually done it because my philosophy is just I can't change 60 years of like being, right? Like if this person has been this way, so I say this all the time. I have a person in my family, I love them to death. They are a great person. But it's just some things, like some characteristics, they don't have it. And so it's just an unfair expectation for me to expect them to be a certain way after living for 60 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
So my take on it is like, I'm not gonna expect them to change. I'm gonna change the way I receive them and know that I'm gonna meet them where they're at, but I'm not gonna expect them to like over excel in some parts of our relationship because I just don't think they have it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely does make sense. But also remember, like it kind of what I was gonna say next was it would kind of also serve as a bit of like healing a little bit just for myself because you know like they say forgiveness is more about you than it is about the person. Um,
Right.
like I just noticed that a lot of my load was lighter. Like it wasn't really as much of a thought or issue or things because it's kind of like it helped me be able to forgive that person for whatever it was that occurred over the course of time. So, so yeah, but
So
I
do
totally
you forgive them for future things? Because with repairing relationships, you gotta know that like somebody's gonna mess up again, possibly in the future. So, like, say if your dad kind of did something that was reminiscent of things that y'all talked about,
Mhm.
how do you handle that?
Um, a wise woman told me once, you gotta love people where they at.
Come on,
So, you know,
man.
like you said, you
And,
start.
and we were how old when she told us that?
Yeah,
Maybe
that was about nine years
19.
ago. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was a while ago. So
That was probably some of the best advice
yeah,
I've received. Like, love a person where they're at. Like, you can expect more, but
can change
just
people.
know they may
You
fall
know,
short.
so I drive myself crazy expecting better and more, knowing what I'm gonna get. So
Yeah. So we talked about a lot of like not negative things, but like things that may have had adverse effects on us. But let's talk about some of like the positive things. What are some things that like you learned in a Black household? Because one thing about it, all of our households are unique, but they are the same. All of us could probably name the same incident that happened to us. So what are some things that happened to you that were positive that you definitely want to keep as a tradition or pass on to your children?
um, for me, let me think. What are some positive things? My kids gonna have to be funny. I'm sorry. I don't know if that counts, but but we ain't gonna have no lames in my household.
I cannot agree. I mean, their dad's pretty lame, so that might be hard.
Wow, relax, relax. um, no, but one thing that's positive that I want to keep, I want my children to be spiritually inclined. That's something that's not in every household. It may seem as though it is, but it's really not. I've had conversations. I remember I had a conversation with one guy. He was saying he was atheist and like something like that. And it's like not everybody was as spiritually inclined or like into church or religion as much as I was growing up. Not to say I want to force religion on my kids or anything like that, but I do want them to know it's important to believe in something. And just have that like inclination, whatever it is that you believe in, it's important to have some sort of belief system. So I feel like that's something I want to like ingrain into like my household growing up.
Okay.
So
I would say I think the premise that you always have to be a hard worker and outwork everyone else. I think that's something that I would want to pass to my children.
mhm.
And that wasn't something that was like verbally said to me. I saw it through their actions. And so, like, even if you're going to be a janitor, you're going to be the best janitor on the staff. I think I had to do that now. Like, I always try to be the best. And just knowing that sometimes even your best, you're going to come second to someone of another race. So I think if you always have that mindset, that'll always like push you to work hard. I'm thinking something else. And also to love people where they are. That's something that I definitely want to pass on to my children.
Yes.
Because I just learned so many lessons in being an adult with that lesson of like, love this person where they're at. You have expectations for relationships, but just be realistic in those expectations. Miss Lauren.
For me, I would say love. Like, I knew I was loved. You know what I mean? Like, smothered in love. Like, saying it, showing it. Like, it was just, we were just loved when we were kids. I mean, still now, but you know what I mean? So it's like, I do the same thing with Bailey. Like, it's just a constant, like, hugs and kisses and like, hey, pretty girl, and da 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 da, and just like lifting her up just so she know, like, if nobody knows, you know, or if no one loves you, like, we love you. And then I guess I won't say it's a small thing, but another offset thing is my parents used to read to me every night. And that like sparked my love for reading. And that's one thing, especially as a teacher, that I think is really important. Because, you know, with literacy, they build jails off of third grade test scores. If you can't, if you fail the reading, they're like, oh, that's they're going to be an inmate, you know, whatever. So literacy is like huge to me. So that's something also that I want to pass down to her, is a love for reading.
That school to prison pipeline is a real thing.
I was gonna say, I think I'm gonna take the words of affirmation love thing from you. I'm gonna add it to my list of things, because it wasn't something I ain't gonna say I didn't feel loved in my household, but that's not something that's always been like big in my family. Like, you know, people just kind of like, you know, it's not as much. We don't celebrate each other as much as we should. We don't make it right, as, you know. So that's definitely something I want to add. And also, Ms. Biologist, your kids better know how to roast, because the Amati clan is
Look, we coming through with the come through. The Biologist crew is coming for y'all, okay? Yes. And we gonna be talking to y'all.
And I will say too, Greg, no, for real, like, put that in there, like celebrating each other, because whenever like we did anything, like, you know, got a good grade or like made it in the school play, my mom had a cheer, like a legitimate like stomp clap thing, and she still does it to this day.
And I can see your mom doing that though.
She does. And like, even when Brandon, like when we got married, he did something and she was like, oh, I got a call with my chick. So it's like, you know, when you're like watching her do it, you're just like, oh my gosh, mom, you're so corny. But you're like, but I love you. Thank you for
cheering.
Yeah, so yeah.
He's appreciated.
I'm gonna add another thing. I think what I've learned from my family, like generations and generations, is that if Black people not gonna do nothing else, they gonna have your back. We might talk about you, but we gonna have your back. Like financially, if you need somewhere to stay, like just gonna always be there and be in your corner. That's something that I definitely want to like keep, you know, in my family and teach to my children, because that's priceless. Like community is it's priceless. The experience of community and like feeling that I have a really big family on my dad and my mom's side. Like my mom has 8 brothers and sisters. My grandmother has 8 brothers and sisters. They all got a bunch of kids. So it's always just a sense of community. And I know in any city where I have family, I can call someone who might be my 5th cousin, but they'll let me stay at their house, provide food. If I need to ride anywhere, I know I'm good. So I love that feeling.
I have one more to add is passing down is financial literacy. My family and I, during the pandemic, lockdown, whatever, we started these financial Zoom calls. And my stepdad, he gave each of us a topic and we all had to like present to each other about, you know, the topic. And it ranged from like, you know, buying a house to credit, whatever else. But the fact is, instead of just like listening to him tell us all of these things, we all collectively taught each other. And so now it's so cool to like be in our group chat and somebody's like, oh, my stock went up, or, I read this today about, the housing market and blah, blah, blah. And it's something that you guys know too, because you do your financial tip at the end, is so important. And it's something that our communities as a whole, our community doesn't have. So
Mhm.
that's something I definitely want to pass down to her. And then it keeps going.
Yeah, that's something I feel like every family can use. Just like sticking together, teaching each other things. And I feel like this point in time with the pandemic, it's just been a perfect time to like hone in on that and just let's learn new skills. We we started doing a puzzle to like at the beginning of the pandemic to help with our brain activity. And I thought it was funny at first, but I'm like, shoot, it kind of really helps. We had a lot out of time during this time.
Help you stay active.
Right. But we talked about a lot of good stuff today, man. I feel like, especially in the Black community, these are important conversations that we need to have and continuously have. So I definitely want to encourage both of y'all to like not end this conversation with this episode, but like continue to talk about this in your friend groups, because you'll be interested to see like people's reaction to like talking about going to therapy or talking about their relationship with their parents. And it wasn't until I was an adult to where I really learned about my friends when they started talking about how they were brought up. Because you have this, I used to have this like vision that everyone was pretty much brought up the same way. You got your parents, you go to school, you ride the bus, you go to college, and it's like, wow, no, everybody wasn't raised the same way. You didn't have the same values. Not to say that one was right or wrong, but different families have just been different. So I learned that in my adult years.
Yeah. I was gonna say, shoot, even outside of friendships, dating. I know we talked about dating a couple weeks ago. Ask some questions on the first and second date, like, hey, how your relationship with your parents? How are your parents' relationship? Being good.
I mean, if your parent, although, I feel like that stretch from like 21 to 25 be rough. Because you come into adulthood, right? But like at the end of the day, you love your parents. Like, your parents will have your back if you need them. But like if you don't have a relationship with your parents and you're my friend or significant other, that's a red flag for me. Like none at all, non-existent. I can understand having rough patches, but it's definitely a red flag.
I think it's interesting too, because that age that you're saying is really the age where you learn how human your parents are too. Because like up to that point, they're your parents and they just know everything. And it's like, that's the age where you're like, oh, you don't know what you're doing either. Like we all in the same boat.
Yes.
Now you don't know what you're doing either.
I mean, what I mean.
But they're learning how to parent a 20-something-year-old, especially if you're that firstborn.
Right.
Like they're learning that. My dad got a bunch of kids and my boy's still learning. So
because every kid is different. It's not, you can't apply this to this one. Like it's
and even if you parent every kid the same, like they can all choose different paths.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is it's amazing to me. Like when I look at my sisters, I'm like, we're so different, but we grew up in the same house.
But y'all had different friend groups and probably like were in different hobbies, and it's just like all the exposure.
That's very true. For a long time, they felt like they lived in my shadow, and that was something that I did not want. But I couldn't help it. Y'all went to the same schools I went to, so the teachers know Brooke. They gonna know you too. They don't want to know you, Brooke's sister. So, but being that older sibling we're all an older sibling, so at least one sibling. So we know how that goes.
I know. I was see me and my little sister not so much because it's kind of she was like 6 years after me, so we wasn't really in the same like. But my older sister, I was definitely Duran's little brother growing up. I didn't have a name.
I'm sorry, Greg.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Y'all look just alike, so I can see why.
All right, y'all. I think it's time we gotta we get to the end of the show. But before we go, we gotta dive into the head ass files, man. This week, you know, we got to touch on one of our favorite rappers, you know, Meek Millie from Philly.
A hot mess. Mr. Twitter fingers himself.
He decided that, well, for those of y'all that don't know, there was a song with Meek Mill and Lil Baby. And there was a bar in the song that stated, and I quote, "If they catch me slipping, I'm going out with my chopper. It'll be another Kobe."
Yeah, no. Okay, so it's barely been a year since his death. Let's start there. Although it was a leaked song, it should not have been a bar in your song at all.
Whoa.
Like, who thinks of that? Like, that's crazy. And then Vanessa Bryant posted, like, you know, I didn't really like the verse. I mean, I didn't really like the line. You know, I don't think that was cool. I'm not familiar with your music, but I'm just letting you know how I feel. He gets on Twitter and, like, I don't want to say he doubles down, but he wasn't really apologetic.
Nah.
And so to me, it's just like, okay, you're not sorry about this. You meant to say that, and you would probably say it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me, it wasn't even good enough for you to, like, you know, just switch it up. Like, just
the bar wasn't, even if that wasn't the case, like, the bar wasn't even good enough for you to even put it in the song.
Like,
and the song wasn't good enough for it to be a topic of conversation, if we're being real.
Yeah, honestly. Like, Meek is definitely, he's done a lot of headassery things in his career. And that definitely, like, makes it to, like, the top 2 to 3 of the list, because I'm not sure why he thought that was a good idea. He not only even the public response to, like, Kobe Bryant's death, like, you know, because Kobe meant something to, like, basically everybody, anybody who grew up on him, anybody who was his predecessor, like, Kobe meant something to damn near everybody. And then for you to throw that in the song, it
was distasteful, and it was, yeah, like, you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a rapper, so I don't know how that works, like the creative juices. But you couldn't have been in the booth writing down, like, yeah, this Kobe line gonna get them off. Yeah. They're gonna go crazy when they hear this one. Like, I don't believe that was
it. And then my thing is, like, even with rappers, like, because a lot of rappers make reference to, like, dead people. Like, you know, there was the song with Jay-Z and Kanye where he said, "I was born on the day Fred Hampton died," you know, or something like that. Like, and Fred Hampton's son, this was I forgot what's the name of the song. It was a song with him and Kanye and Watch the Throne, which was years ago. But Fred Hampton's son had a problem with that, because he was like, he felt like Fred Hampton was, he said he was assassinated. He didn't just die. Like, he was like, so you're not really, like, you know, but Jay-Z, like, fixed it. Like, and he even put on his newest song, he kind of said it again, and then he stopped. And then he was like, he didn't die, he was assassinated, da, 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 da. He said it in the song. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not your situation, that's not your family. Like, if somebody in the family responds like that, like, just fix it. Like, it's, you know, like, that's not your situation to argue or have a problem with or something like that, because you're not a Bryant. Like, you're not a Bryant, you're a Mill.
You're a Mill. My boy done made that his last name.
Right.
Made it for him.
Mr. Mill.
Yeah, he becomes more and more dumb. Like, every time he says something, and it's just like, dude, we expect artists to be smarter than what they probably really are, because I just give people the benefit of the doubt. But it's just like, bro, that was dumb. And it's like the Band-Aid, like, the wound hasn't healed yet.
Nah.
For you to do that, and you don't know what type of grief people are going through, like, not only his wife and his family, his teammates, and it's just like, yo, it was way too soon.
It was just,
and again, it wasn't a good bar. Like, it just wasn't good.
Yeah, it was overall headassery to me. And there was another situation that was similar. It wasn't really a rap line, a lyric. There was a fake news story that came out by Lauren London a couple weeks ago.
That she was pregnant.
Yeah, like that she was pregnant with. I'm like, why? The moment I seen one of somebody who I follow, DJ I follow on Twitter, he kind of got like a major one of those, like, viral pages. He reposted it, and I was like, this is probably not a real page, but you might want to take this down, because that's like,
right.
Not only is it clickbait, like, that's beyond, like, come on, man. Come
that's
on.
disrespectful.
My thing is, like, underneath it, people were commenting like, oh, you're a terrible person and blah blah. And I was like, okay, but if this was real, like, why couldn't she have moved on if she wanted
Ready.
to?
Let people
Like,
realize their situation.
right. Like, she can't be with him in death. Like, it's not, like, of course she loved him and loves him and all of that. But it's like, if she's ready to move on, then let her.
And one day she's going to move on, and people
Yeah.
are going to have to accept that. Because when a man's wife dies, it's not the same.
Right.
They don't have that same like hold on the man that they do on the woman. The woman's supposed to be down for years after his death, and it's like, no, like you have to. They have to. She has to live. She'll find love again. She probably still wants a family, but you just don't know people's grieving process, and I would never try to do anything to impose on that. So that the fact that somebody made up that fake story, it was just like,
yeah, it was
Slow
real.
News Day.
Distasteful is the word. That's what it
Yes.
That's what it was. Because I'm just like, why would you? I mean, because it's clickbait. Like that's like the wave in media. Everything has to be clickbait. Oh, what's going
Low
on?
key, if TMZ don't say it, it ain't true because they be having the tea for real.
Yeah, yeah.
It be TMZ then CNN.
Yeah. So it's been a couple. Meek Mill's a head ass. Whoever wrote that story's a head ass.
Whole mess.
Whole mess. We could add Charlamagne to the head ass list too, because I don't know what he was thinking. Did y'all hear about what he did?
So I did. Come on, tell us about it a little bit more.
So basically, like we just talked about the movie Judas and the Black Messiah.
Oh, okay. I heard about this.
And Lakeith Stanfield, they have some sort of beef.
Yeah.
So on the Breakfast Club, Charlamagne's basically they were interviewing Daniel Kaluuya, and they were talking about the movie, and then Charlamagne goes, "Oh yes, Dan Lakeith, he played his role too good. It's almost like he was born to play that role." It was, and it's kind of like you sound like you give it reverence, but knowing that his role, what he was in the movie, like basically like an infiltrator or snitch, like the rat, whatever he was, like
he's ignorant, but Charlamagne is ignorant.
Like that's.
Yeah.
He is.
Peak head assery, Charlamagne.
Like the stuff that he has said and done over the years, the fact that he is still on the radio is baffling because it's like, bro, come on now. Why would you say that? I mean, you're essentially discrediting his art.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
I know his art, his character. That's like your whole character. Because I mean, you think about his character in the movie, he was a messed up person. The things he did in that movie, it was real messed up. So
yeah, he said he had like therapy afterwards.
Oh yeah, he did. He said he had therapy afterwards.
I mean, I can imagine. I think a lot of people that play roles like that are similar in nature, they have to go to therapy because you could become like that person and not mean to. Like the guy in Boys in the Hood that killed Ricky. They said he murdered someone literally right after that movie because he was so in character.
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah. I want to say he's in prison or he may have passed away. I don't remember.
Yeah, I want to say, yeah, that's tough. But yeah, that's, head assery is a thing now, I guess.
A long week of head assery, okay? So we're going to go into our mental health tip of the week. So my tip for the week for mental health is to create and establish healthy boundaries. Boundaries in relationships with your friends, relationships with your significant other, and just relationship with people in general. But the boundaries have to be clear and defined. And the person that you establish the boundary with, they need to know what, so they know not to cross it. And so a lot of times with setting boundaries, especially in friendships, you have to have continuous conversations. It's not just one conversation. And if you feel like they're crossing that boundary, you may have to remind them like, hey, this is an example of like a boundary I asked you not to cross. So like, let's kind of work on not crossing that boundary. So really, in my experience, it really takes a lot of patience in knowing that like people have to adapt to you setting boundaries, because I've noticed that you've been friends with people for so long, like the person you were in college or high school, you're not that person anymore. So that's why it's so important to establish boundaries. So again, my tip is establish healthy boundaries.
And stick to them, because if you don't, you're going to be stressed out and mad at yourself.
Mad.
Believe me, I know.
And if it is nobody else's fault but your own because you didn't stick to your boundary.
Yeah.
And people can sense when you being flip floppy. They're like, okay, she's not really serious about it.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So I guess it's my turn. Financial literacy tip. I think for the next few weeks, I'm gonna like kind of deep. I don't want to say deep dive a little bit, but like do a little more explaining of some of the things that happen in the like financial field of things. So one thing that's kind of popular now is like the stock market and things of that nature. I know we talked about that in past shows. So one thing I want to touch on today, kind of give an explanation to, because I know a million people have a million questions about, oh, what's this? Oh, what happened with GameStop? Oh, why do these people lose money? Why did they shut this down? But one thing I want to get into today is the options market. So for those of you that don't know, the situation that happened with GameStop, where the stock shot through the roof and like, you know, people lost billions of dollars and things of that nature. So what happened was that these people bought puts or options on the stock. There's two types of options. There's a call and there's a put, and I'll get into it a little bit. They bought puts on the stock, which is basically, it's similar to a bet, but I don't want to just call it a bet, but that's the best way to describe it, is you're placing money on a bet that the stock that you buy is going to drop in price. So you basically, you sell it at a certain point and you buy it back cheaper to gain money. So, and when you do options, you're basically borrowing money to buy or sell your stock. A call is when you're buying the stock, anticipating it will rise and you can sell it at a higher price. And the put is when you sell it low, when you buy stock and sell it low, and then you can buy it back at a cheaper price. So both ways it's supposed to make money. So what happened with the GameStop situation, where these people bought puts, meaning they sold it at a certain point. I think it was about like $9, $9 to $10 per stock, and they were anticipating the stock dropping and them buying it back, however many shares they bought. Let's say if you bought like 100 shares at $10. And you're placing your put, you place a specific date that you want to buy it back. So let's say like March 4th. So March 4th, you're anticipating the price of the stock going from $10 to $5. So you bought some at $10 and you sell it at, or you buy it back at $5. This way you gain more money. You gain about what? That's if 100 stocks buy like $500, right? What happened was they bet that it would drop, but the price shot through the roof. That's why all these people lost money. So they were anticipating buying it back at $5. Instead of $5, it was $500. So if you sold 100, you have to buy back 100 at $500 each. That's how, you know how like they were saying people lost like up to like $10 billion?
Yes, I remember.
That
makes so much more sense now.
Yeah, and that's something that usually hedge funds is kind of like a messed up part of the game, but hedge funds, because they have so much money in their head, and usually it's like kind of like a collection of rich people who just have money and pool it, and they basically kind of buy out companies on the stock market, and they buy a bunch of puts, so they buy a bunch of shares, anticipating that they'll drop, and the company kind of goes bankrupt because it's like they're worth nothing. Because a bunch of people basically bet against them, but this Reddit group, I guess they caught on, and that day they shot through the roof. That's probably one of the first times in history something like that has happened. You can't really anticipate it. I guess they were in some sort of group chat or something, and told people. A lot of people came up on the stock. So the people that knew about it, I guess they bought it at whatever, and when the stock rose, they sold it. So they got their money back, but the people that placed the options against it, they lost out big time. So that's kind of like a description of what options are, the options market. That's something you may hear, like if you like talk to a financial advisor or like kind of doing a little research on trading. Options, calls, and puts. Calls, you're betting on the stock to rise, that you can sell it at a higher price, and puts, you're betting on the stock to drop so that you can sell it at a high price and buy it back at a lower price. So yeah,
that's a good explanation.
Very good explanation, because I've asked millions of people and no one has done it that way. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, years of reading finance books and a degree to show for it. So I better know that.
That's funny. So, Lauren, do you have anything you want to add to our financial literacy tips?
No.
My girl said we knocked her off her feet with our tips. She had nothing
They
to
were wonderful. No, I think that's a great one. And like I said, I mean, truly, like you explained that very well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for the book.
So now it's time for us to shout out our Black brands. We pride ourselves in buying Black. I'll go first. I have on, it says Eastside because I'm from where? STONEMOUNTAIN.
Diane.
Well, I need that to do it before the show is over.
But no, so this shirt was a collaboration between our friend Shiloh Patrick, aka Solo Sounds. He did a collaboration with Raw ATL. So they had a t-shirt line together, and I bought this one, and then he had a few other sayings on shirts. He had North Side, West Side, South Side. And it was about, I want to say $20, $25. Really quality shirt. So yes, support Raw ATL and Solo Sounds.
Yes. My Black brand, as you can see, I don't want to say the words, a bit vulgar, but F they. But it's basically, and it's not a brand, it's a lifestyle. And it's basically a motivational quote that, any down talkers, any haters, anybody out there telling you can't do something, that they won't do something, or, it's a million people out there telling you what you can't do in life. But basically, welcome. Yes, you can find them on Instagram and on other social media sites at F. It's a V in there. It's not a U. FVCK. They on Instagram. Shout out DJ House. This is her brand, collaborated brand with other individuals. She's a DJ out here in Atlanta. So that is my Black brand for the day. And I bought it at Atlanta Food Truck Market, which is also Black owned. So it's Black all around. It's Black.
Well, mine is another well-known DJ here in the Atlanta area, DJ Reese.
Who?
Yeah, your favorite lady DJ. Only reason I don't have it on is because I just came from work, so doesn't really go. She has some different things online you can grab from her. Her mom actually has a business as well where she sells lots of like sunglasses and jewelry and like all kind of accessories. And Reese, it's still at DJ Reese?
It's Reese.
We'll
figure it out. It's DJ Reese.
At it's DJ Reese.
And her mom is at Chic Designs.
Yep. Check them out.
Yes.
So Lauren,
we are wrapping up.
What'd you say?
I said thank you so much for joining. You've been amazing.
Thank you for having me.
All your parenting skills, the ones that you've had, I'm taking those. So
we taking all of that.
Take them. It's all, yes, we share information.
It's the community for me.
Right.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much, Lauren. Seriously, I know it was last minute and you came on and you rocked it, girl. So it'll be up Thursday at 5 on YouTube. I'll send you the YouTube and the Apple iTunes link as well.
Perfect. Thank
you. Alrighty. And we out.
Just tell me straight up. Ain't no sense in waiting later. I need it straight up. I ain't tripping on them haters. I got my mind made up.
If you got something to say, don't let your words go to waste. You did all that today. 5 o'clock, it's time to rock. DJ Machiavelli and my girl Brooke on top. Let's go.